Everybody, and welcome to our show today. So today we're going to be diving in. We're going to be talking about credit lines. And before we get started, for all of you that are here with us on the live show, I went ahead and typed something in the chat. Don't forget to join us tonight at 8 o'clock, because tonight at 8 o'clock we're going to dive into another webinar on how to get $250,000 in business credit for your EIN number that's not linked to your personal social, as well as also how to get different kind of loans and credit lines. So make sure you don't miss that one. That's going to be a really cool first of its kind event that we're doing. And somehow, some way, I ended up doing 2 webinars on the same day, which is something I usually try to prevent from doing. But again, a really good webinar tonight at 8 o'clock. Hopefully you'll join us there, because we map out a lot of cool stuff on building business credit and getting loans and credit lines. We'll talk about a couple of these credit lines there, but we'll be talking about a lot more loan options or credit line options than we'll even have time to dive into today. So today we're going to talk about 2 easy to qualify for unsecured credit lines, but I will tell you that we're actually going to jump into a lot more after we get through the main 2. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ty Crandall. I'm actually the CEO here at CreditSuite, and if you'd like to get in touch with us, feel free to give us a ring, 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487. Also, feel free to email us at info@creditsuite.com. Throughout the show today, I'm going to be showing a link on the bottom of my slides, creditsuite.com/get-funding. At this link, you could talk to our finance team about getting either of these credit lines, any of the credit lines we're going to talk about today, as well as getting all different kinds of business loans and other kind of credit lines that are out there beyond the ones that we're going to be talking about today. And again, our team will never charge you a dime of money. We don't charge you up front when it comes to getting loans. We don't charge you after the deal funds. Sometimes we refer loans over to a lender and get a referral commission, but it doesn't cost you any money to work with our team. As a matter of fact, our team actually gets you volume discounts, because we do so much volume with a lot of lenders that actually even get you better pricing than you'll get on your own. So no pitch today. I just wanted to go through and give you an action step that you could take if you're interested in getting financing for your business. So what's a line of credit? Let's start with the beginning. Well, a line of credit is basically a lending arrangement between a financial institution like a bank and a business, and a credit account is basically extended to a borrower, and it has a maximum limit that you could basically borrow against. So the money does not have to be used for a pre-specified purpose. This is a really big deal. With loans, you have to really specify in most cases what you're going to use the money for, and if what you're going to use the money for doesn't meet parameters that lenders have, then what happens is you can oftentimes get denied for the loan just because of your designated use of funds. But one of the benefits is you avoid this pitfall with credit lines, because you can use them for any purpose that you like. So it's basically like a credit card without the plastic. Some of them do give you a plastic card that you could write, you could use for the actual credit line itself, but the similarities between credit lines and credit cards are minimal. Credit cards really give you 0% rates, which I'm going to talk to you today about a hybrid option that will give you that even as a credit line. And credit lines let you actually take the cash out without paying 20% fees, which is pretty common with credit cards. But outside of those differences, credit lines and credit cards are very similar. As a matter of fact, it's often said that credit cards are just a hybrid version of credit lines. So there are secured lines of credit that you could start with, and with these, a credit grantor has established a lien against an asset, or basically some kind of collateral that they're using in case you default. The asset becomes collateral. It can be seized or liquidated by the lender in the event of default. Now, these are obviously more secure than safe, I should say, than unsecured credit lines. And what's nice about secured credit lines is they usually have better interest rates. The bottom line is these are lower interest rate credit lines versus unsecured, which typically gives you higher rates and fees, because again, you know, if they have collateral to take if you default, the risk to the lender and the credit issuer is substantially less than if it's actually unsecured. So unsecured credit lines, there's no asset that acts as collateral. The lender assumes a much larger risk, and so because of that, none of your assets can be taken in case of default. The rates and terms are typically worse on a secure credit or an unsecured credit line versus secure, because with the secure credit line, they have collateral in case you default. With unsecured, they simply just don't. So there's a lot of benefits of credit lines. One is that they provide flexibility, which means, you know, you could use them for whatever purpose you want. You could put money on them, you could pay them off quickly and reuse that money. There's just a lot of different benefits that you have, and because of this flexibility, credit lines are really good just to have around. As a matter of fact, of the ones we're going to show you today, of the main two, and I say there's two we're going to go over, but now I added a third one because I just accessed a new credit line yesterday that's phenomenal that we're going to talk about. Of two of those three, the two we already have here as a company. The third one, now that we just found out about it yesterday, we're actually in the process today of applying to get it. Not because we need money. We're not going to use them for any purpose, but we just like to have them available, especially with the low rates I want to show you today. That's part of the benefit of flexibility, is you can use them as you want to use them, and you're only paying money on what you actually use. So it really gives you the versatility to have it as a rainy day fund or whatever you actually need money. Now, borrowers can use their line of credit and only pay interest on what they use, unlike loans where they pay interest on the full amount borrowed. And again, that's the benefit of a credit line. If you get a loan for 50 grand and you know you only need 5 grand now, we have to pay interest on the full 50. With a credit line, you can get a credit line for 50 grand, use 5 now, and only pay interest on the 5 grand that you're using, unlike a loan. So credit lines can be reused as you acquire a balance and pay the balance off. You can use that available credit again and again. Huge benefit, but something to look out for as well. With true credit lines, the lender can call that line due at any given time, which means if you owe $50,000 on the line, they can say, hey man, we want that 50 grand back, give it back to us within a couple weeks. Does it happen? Yes, it does. And interesting enough, one of the reasons we see it happens is because of business credit quality. People get credit lines extended from their bank does a random spot check, finds out their business credit quality has changed or that they have no business credit established, and then they call the line due. And we have these people call us freaking out because, again, their line got called due. Now they owe all that money back. And the problem is, a lot of cases, they don't have it. And the reason is because they didn't build their business credit. So one of the important reasons that you want to make sure that you build business credit, again, if you're on our live stream now, you can look in chat. We've got a link where we're going to map out tonight how to do that. If you're watching this later on YouTube, well, then you could easily find on YouTube, our channel, plenty of webinars or plenty of videos that will help you through the process of building business credit. Credit lines are revolving accounts, much like credit cards. Contrast other forms of financing like installment loans, because again, you can use and reuse them. In many cases, lines of credit are unsecured. We just talked about the difference. In many cases, they don't need collateral or assets, so they're easier for you to get approved for. And there are some credit lines which are secure, and again, they're easier to qualify for, and those ones typically deliver you better interest rates. So these are by far the most commonly requested loan type within the business world. I mean, most people we talk to are looking not for loans but credit lines for their business. But although they're hard to find, or they're popular, they're also very, very hard to find. You know, most credit lines, and even some we'll talk about later today, or SBA, guaranteed, and or insured. And when SBA is insuring it, then the problem is if you default, then basically SBA takes on and pays what you owe. So what happens is these are harder to qualify in a lot of cases because you have to qualify at a bank and SBA. So we're going to talk about options today that are much easier to qualify for because, again, these are very popular, but real credit cards are very hard. Credit lines are hard to find. So many are also very tough to qualify for because they require good credit, good time in business, and good financials. Most all credit lines fit this bill. You have to have a good FICO score. You need to have good time in business, 2-3 years. You need to have tax returns for 2 or 3 years. I'm going to talk to you about options today that you can get as a startup, that you can get with no credit pull, that you don't have to conform to these requirements. But again, the majority, the vast majority of credit lines that are out there, you need good credit. You need to be in business years. You need to have good tax returns for approval. We're going to talk about options where you don't need to have time in business so you can get them as a startup, and you also can even get approved for some today we'll talk about without a credit check. So you may have seen ads for 0% credit lines. We're going to talk a little bit more about unsecured credit lines right now, the 0% unsecured program. So this will be one of the main 2 programs that we're going to focus a lot on because this is one that works for so many people. As a matter of fact, it's by far one of the most popular funding programs that we work with here at CreditSuite because it has so many benefits we'll dive into. Now, you may have seen this before, you know, ads where people are promising 0% credit lines for, you know, $50,000 to $250,000. Well, a 0% program really is ideal for startups, high-risk industries, and those that just don't want to provide cash flow or collateral because, first of all, they're 0%. So they work really well when you need to use them because you don't pay interest on it. They work really good for startups because they keep your payments low, but you also don't need financials. They're no doc. This program is no doc, so you don't need tax returns. And so if you don't want to provide cash flow or you don't have cash flow yet because you're a startup, it works really well, and it's unsecured, so you don't need collateral. So again, unlike asset-based lending, you don't need to show or provide assets for this kind of program. So you don't need to have account receivables or inventory or any of the things that a lot of other credit lines require. And unlike cash advances, which are really a popular form of financing that's out there today, you don't need to be in business 6 to 12 months or have consistent cash flow for approval. One of the #1 ads that you see on Facebook, I know because I see the same kind of ads you see because we're business owners, or some of you are starting to businesses and you're looking for money, and we're always inquiring into things that have to do with money, is you commonly see ads that say they can get you a loan quickly if you have $10,000 a month in revenue or 1 year in business. That's the most popular type of financing that's out there today. It's called cash advances or revenue lending. Well, unlike cash advances and revenue lending, with this program, you don't need to be in business 6 or 12 months, and you don't need the $10,000 a month in revenue. Those aren't requirements. So even if you don't have those, you're still able to get approved for this program. Now, you only pay on what you owe, as we talked about, unlike a loan. And again, if you're approved for 100 grand, you only make payments on what you actually use of that 100 grand. So if you charge 4 grand, you're only making payments on that 4 grand. And during the 0% interest period, you don't even pay interest, which is why, again, it works so well for startups. Now, it's possible to get cards that only report to the business reporting agencies with this program, not the consumer reporting agencies. So this program helps build your business credit, for one, which is really big, and then it also doesn't report on your consumer credit reports. So that's a big deal because a lot of credit cards and credit lines out there report to the actual consumer credit reporting agencies. Capital One is a perfect example. They report to the consumer and the business reporting agencies. So if you put a high balance on that card, you'll hurt your consumer credit scores. Well, with this program, you're building your business credit because the accounts report on your business credit reports. And the other huge benefit here is that it doesn't report on your consumer credit, so you can even max out the balance and not hurt your FICO scores. Now, you can use this credit card even with high utilization, as I mentioned, with no adverse effect on your consumer FICO, and that's important because of your consumer FICO score, 30% of your score is utilization. So by not having balances reported on your consumer credit reports, you can really maximize your FICO score. And with consumer FICO, if you use more than 30%, you're really lowering your consumer scores. So, you know, the majority of people use personal credit and personal funds to fund their business. The problem with that is that consumer credit was never designed to fund a business, so it's very easy to max out consumer credit cards very quickly, and then in doing so, since a third of your whole FICO score on the consumer side is utilization, when you max out credit cards, you tank your scores. I mean, you could easily lower your score 100 to 150 points by just increasing the balance on your credit card. Sometimes even if it's hundreds of dollars, you could do that because they don't like to see that you're using really much of your utilization at all. I mean, preferably you want to only utilize 2% or less of the revolving credit that's on your consumer credit score or consumer credit report, and anything over 30% a balance compared to your limit on your consumer credit reports will really hurt your scores. So again, getting credit accounts like this that gets you money and build your business credit have so many benefits. Now, often when you apply for consumer credit, there's an inquiry on your consumer credit report. With other lenders, CDs, they won't approve you for more credit as they don't know how much other credit you have. This is one of the biggest problems in the business world. You know, in the business world, you can oftentimes be declined even because of 1, 2, or 3 inquiries on your consumer credit report. Here's the reason why, and a lot of people don't understand why. The reason why is because when you get these kind of accounts, they report on your business credit reports. So if you get a Citi and a Bank of America, for example, inquiry on your credit report, well, the problem is that if somebody else looks at your credit report, they don't know if you actually ended up getting credit cards that they haven't seen on your report yet with those inquiries. It could be too new for those accounts to show, and those accounts may have shown up on your business credit reports. So when lenders start to see that you have inquiries, they start to not approve you for revolving credit. With this program, you kind of get past that, so you're able to apply for a lot more credit, get approved for a lot more credit. But Again, in a lot of cases, if you have even 2 inquiries in the last 6 to 12 months, you can get declined. And I can't stress this enough. So many people try to use consumer credit cards to fund a business. The problem is those people truly do not understand the value of inquiries on your credit report. So let me off topic teach you 2 very important things if you ever want to get money for your business. Number 1, inquiries really, really matter. They matter at a level that it's never even thought of in the consumer world. You can get car loans and mortgages and consumer credit cards all day long with multiple inquiries on your credit report. But in the business world, these can absolutely adversely affect your ability to be able to get money. So you want to keep as few inquiries on your credit report as you absolutely can. Another tip I'll give you is that when you file taxes at the end of the year, show some kind of profit. One of the number 1 things that can get you all kinds of loans and credit lines is tax returns that show some kind of profit. So even though your accountant will tell you to write everything off, even though you want to finish the year with a loss so you don't pay taxes, when it comes to getting a lot of loans and credit lines, just showing some kind of profit can be the key to approval. So 2 side note tips that I'll give you when it comes to getting money. So the 0% rate is a benefit, but again, it's only for a limited time. 0% unsecured credit lines have rates of about 0% for about 6 to 18 months. Okay, when that rate will end, then what happens is then they charge you regular interest, which could be 10%, 15, 20%, normal credit card rates. So again, don't ever think, if you think something's too good to be true, it probably is. So in a world where you've got unsecured credit at 0%, well, it's not going to be 0% forever because the credit issuer would never make money there. They're giving you 0% for a reason. What they're really hoping you do is they're hoping you put a balance on the card at 0%, and then what they're doing is they're hoping that you're then going to turn around and keep that balance on there, so when they start charging interest, they can charge you interest on it. So keep in mind that 0% is only for 6 to 18 months, no more. Other than that, then they're going to start charging you money, and typically they won't extend you, but if that 0% expires, it's not a bad idea to even ask them if they can extend it. You do have that right. These are things that people don't know. People don't know that when you're issued a credit card, for example, hey, call and ask for a balance increase immediately. Some will give it to you, some won't. The most recent American Express card we got, we did this. We said, hey, we want more of a limit. They said, how much more? We told them 50% more. They gave it to us immediately just because we asked. We called 2 other new card companies that we got. They declined us. They said, well, you can't even apply for a limit increase for 6 months. Many will say that, but it still helps just to call every card company, every card you get, just ask for a balance increase. You'd be surprised at how many times they immediately increase it 30, 50% or more just because you asked. And the same thing with 0%. If you have a consumer or a business credit card where the 0% expires or is about to expire, call and ask them for an extension. The worst they're going to say is no, and in a lot of cases, surprisingly, they'll actually tell you yes. So credit cards are not the same as credit lines. A credit line is more like a debit card. Most credit lines don't offer 0% like cards do, but credit lines do let you take the cash out at the same rate as the card is, like 8% or even 0 or 8% or whatever it may be. But again, credit cards don't let you take the cash out. Credit lines don't typically offer 0%. So with credit cards, you can't take cash out on them without paying a hefty cash advance fee of about 20% or higher. And I said heft here, but it's supposed to be hefty. Cash advance fee. So this is what a lot of people don't realize. It's so funny. So many people ask for credit lines. And then if we ask them, we say, well, hey, what's the difference between a credit card and a credit line? They say, I honestly don't know. Well, the difference is this. Credit lines will let you take the cash out without paying cash advance fees. Credit cards will give you 0% and credit lines typically don't. I'm about to show you a way to get a hybrid where that's basically the best of both worlds. So with this program, a lending source basically works on your behalf to secure for you unsecured business credit cards / lines, and I'll explain what that means. Okay, the company's not a lender. What they do or a card issuer, what they basically do is they basically just specialize in obtaining corporate credit cards, business credit cards. So there are 5 sources out there, and most people don't even know this program exists, which is why we fund so many customers for it, because they don't even realize this exists. And what happens is these are people who are experts in issuing credit cards. They know credit cards down to a regional level. They're not going to send you to Chase to get an Ink card. They're going to send you to a regional Chase to get you more amounts of money. So these people, all they do is specialize in these kind of business credit cards. And their tactics will typically get you substantially more credit than you'll get on your own, usually 5 to 8 times more credit. So I see people in our Facebook group that will say, hey, what's the best business credit card I can get? What credit card should I be getting out there? Well, the problem is even if you answer that question and say, get this one, why would you only get one? If you could get 5 of the best credit cards that give 0% for 6 to 18 months and get $100,000 in funding, why not do it if you need the money to be able to grow? So again, with these sources, that's what they'll do. They'll typically get you 5 times the amount of money that you'll get on your own. We tested this once. We had a guy that we got pre-approved for $75,000. The guy kind of had his nose stuck up in the air because he had good credit, and he said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to pay a fee, not to me, but a fee to the actual funding source. And we'll talk about their fees here in a few minutes. And we said, no problem. We will work with you one-on-one to go to your bank and get your own credit line. And so we helped him get his financials together. He went in his bank. He got $12,500 when this source could have got him $75,000. Of course, he said, okay, I learned my lesson. I now want the $75,000. And we said, well, as we told you, you can't get the $75,000 because the one inquiry you just put on your credit report ruined your ability to get that $75,000. So that is the problem. You know, when you're trying to get cards on your own, you may get 1 or 2 cards, but they're not usually the cards with the best terms, the most amount of points, the 0% for 18 months, the business credit reporting. And so you really shoot yourself in the foot when trying to do it on your own versus work with an expert that actually specializes on that. And just so you know, again, I'm not saying I'm that expert. We actually work with financial sources that do that and specialize with this program. This isn't something we do, but we work with a lot of companies closely in the industry that we do. So this is because, again, you're going to get multiple cards with this program versus trying it on your own. So the company you hire, basically what happens is you come in, and again, if this makes sense, there's a link right here on the slide, creditsuite.com/get funding. You enter a little bit of basic info. Our finance team will help you with this. We never charge you a dime to go through and get this kind of program or anyone. So with this program, basically, you're put with a finance source. The finance source specializes in credit lines and credit cards. They go out and get you 5 to 8 different individual credit cards or lines, usually of the best and highest limits that you're going to be able to qualify for. They apply for them all at once. They know the sources that will give you the most amount of money. They do them all at once, and so the inquiries they're putting on your report don't adversely affect your ability to get the other approvals. If you were to do this on your own, you would probably space out your applications. The inquiries would show on your credit report and disqualify you, but the way these finance sources work, they're able to get you 5 to 8 times more money than you get on your own because they know the banks, they have a strategy, they hit them all at the same time, so the inquiries don't adversely affect your ability to get more money. And they usually can get you 5 times the amount of money that you can get on your own and 5 times the amount of your current highest credit limit. So if the current highest credit limit account you have now is $10,000, then with this account, with this program, with this funding program, you could typically get 50. If the highest credit limit account you have is $20,000, then with this program, you're typically going to be able to get $100,000 in financing. It's usually 5 times the amount of whatever the highest credit limit you have on your credit report is now. Now, contrast with your bank, you're only usually with a bank going to get something equal to your current limit. And again, I go back to that example I gave you. The reason we were able to get a client $75,000 and he was only able to get $12,500 at his bank is because $12,500 was about the highest limit that he had on his credit report. So his bank gave him one line that was equal to his current highest limit, and our source was able to get him 5 lines that were equal to his highest credit limit. So because he was able to get 5 times more through our finance source than his bank, he got pre-approved for $75,000 where his bank was only able to get him $12,500. Very common scenario. You're usually with this program going to get about 5 times more money than you'd end up getting on your own. So there's 2 types of accounts. There's personal cards and business cards. Now, personal cards report to the consumer credit reporting agencies. Some sources refer to these as standard cards. Business cards, these These report to the consumer credit report, or don't report to the consumer reporting agencies. They report to the commercial, the business credit reporting agencies. So whether you get one or the other depends on really how much money you personally want, and it depends also on your personal credit quality. So the credit issuer, the finance source, can also get you low introductory rates, as we talked about, 6 to 18 months. You usually pay anywhere between 5 and 20%, 1% after that. And they'll also get you the best cards for points, meaning you get the best rewards. So here's how this works. Basically, the finance source, let's say you go to creditsuite.com/getfunny, just to give you an idea of a scenario walkthrough. You get on with our finance team. Our finance team talks to you for 5 minutes and says, okay, based on what I just heard from you, I have a finance source that's probably going to be the best to get you the most amount of money. They send you over. You get on the phone with them same day, you talk to them, and they send you a pre-approval. Their pre-approval will usually have 2 funding amounts they can get you. The first is including personal and business cards that report to the personal reporting agencies and the business reporting agencies. The other option is just accounts that report to the business reporting agencies. So you're going to have a choice. You can get more money and get personal and business reporting, or you could just choose business reporting, get about 5 times the amount of your highest limit, and then only get accounts that report on your business credit reports. So when I tell you you're going to get with this program about 5 to 8 times the amount of your highest revolving limit now, why I say that is if you're getting just the business cards, you'll get about 5x whatever your highest limit is. If you choose to get business and personal, then oftentimes you'll get about 8x whatever your highest limit is. So that's how that range works. So this is unsecured credit. You don't need assets or collateral. The money that's lent where the lender has no collateral in case of default, which we've talked about. Okay, they don't care about your cash flow either. So what I'm saying here is that they don't look at tax returns. They don't look at bank statements. So you can get it even as a startup, or you can get it even if your bank statements are bad. So we have people that come in to try to get revenue or cash advances, but their bank statements are bad. They have a bunch of non-sufficient funds. They overdraw their bank account. Well, with this program, that doesn't matter. Your bank account doesn't matter because it's not supplied. Your tax returns don't matter because they're not supplied. And collateral doesn't matter. All that matters is your personal credit or that of a guarantor. And again, if you say, well, I don't have good credit, well, don't worry. The next program we're going to talk about has no credit check. We're going to talk about more than just that program here as well. So with the 650 credit score, you could start qualifying for the personal cards. With the 680, you can get both the business and the personal cards. And again, you don't need this to be your credit. You can get this even as a guarantor as well. And I know some of you have some questions, and what I'll do is as soon as I get through this, I will make sure that I get all of your questions answered. I promise you I will, but I want to make sure I get through the actual content so everybody that wants to see it can see it. And then if anybody that wants to stick around for questions, I'll have time to stick around and make sure your questions are answered. So multiple cards create competition, and this is why it's a good thing. You don't just want one single, you might say, well, why do I get 5 to 8 different accounts instead of one? Well, a bunch of huge benefits to that. The first is that because you have multiple accounts, well, then that creates competition. So what happens is it's then easier for you to then be able to come in and get limit increases on the actual cards that you get. Okay, so what happens here is basically you're able to come in and get a Bank of America and a Chase credit card. Because Bank of America sees that you have Chase, then it's easier for Bank of America to raise your limits. Anybody that has a lot of consumer credit cards knows this. When one credit issuer raises your limit, you soon start getting notices in the mail of the other guys that follow. And they do that for a reason, because they know the highest limit account wins. Which credit card do you keep with you at all times? It's usually the credit card that gives you the most amount of points or has the highest limit. Okay, that's the way that I am too. Okay, my wife and I carry around one credit card on the personal side. I carry one business card. I carry my debit card. Those are what I carry on me at any given time. I always choose the highest limit credit cards that I have just in case I need to buy, I don't know, like a vehicle or whatever. I happen to have that much credit available. So because they know this, this, having multiple cards or multiple lines reporting basically creates competition for you to make it easier for you to continue to get your limits higher and higher. Now you can get approved to up to $150,000 per entity with this program. So an entity, for example, like a corporation or an LLC, these business cards report only to the reporting agencies. Remember, we talked about having options. If you want more money, you can get the consumer reporting. And again, you don't see this from lenders. Banks and lenders do not offer this program. Not only will you get money with this program, but again, the benefit is that you're also building your business credit because you're getting about 5 accounts that report to your business credit reporting agencies. Here's why this is a big deal. Again, if you're coming to the webinar tonight at 8 o'clock, and for those of you that are coming into this a little bit late, because I know a lot of people are just showing up, you can go to the link in your chat and join us at 8 o'clock tonight. We really only do that special kind of webinar twice a year, and we're going to map out everything to do with business credit. We're going to show you actual results, show you what you can get. We're also going to be talking about loans and credit lines, all different kind of funding you can get beyond just a couple credit lines we're talking about today. Well, with this program, you basically miss the first step of building business credit. You don't need vendor credit because, again, you are actually starting to build your business credit profile and score with actual cash credit cards, Visa cards, MasterCards. So you're building your business credit and getting your initial accounts with high limits, which helps you get even more credit for your business without the personal guarantee with these kind of accounts. So within 3 to 4 months, you can then use this newly established credit to start getting access to credit without the personal guarantee. So we've got a funding program here where the finance source helps you get 5 to 8 business credit cards. 5 of those or so report to your business credit reports. Not only can you get up to 150 grand, but you also get it at 0% interest and for 6 to 18 months, and you also get the accounts reported on your business credit reports. That helps you establish your business credit profiles and scores, and that opens up even more credit a few months down the road when these accounts start to report, where you can get even more money without the personal guarantee and without the personal credit check. So a lot of benefits here with these kind of accounts. Now, to qualify, you basically need to have no derogatory items reporting on your credit report. So no bankruptcies ever. You might get approved with a bankruptcy if it's not on the report. That happens especially if you work with a good credit repair company. Any judgments have to be paid off, so do tax liens. You can't be in credit counseling. You can't have any late payments in the last 12 months. I like to say you're better off if you apply with no derogatory items at all, but at least none in the last 12 months. No active outstanding collections and unpaid status. Less than $500 may be okay, but active collections, they may make you pay off. And you can't have any foreclosure or mortgage late payments. So you need to have pretty clean credit to get approved. And as I mentioned, a 680 FICO score or higher for the business cards, a 650 credit score or higher for the consumer cards. And again, guys, I know a lot of people are going to have questions. I promise you I will stick around and make sure that every question you have answered. I have enough slides to go through here where I'll probably already be on track at this point to go a little over the hour. So at least one bank, you need to have at least one credit card with a 3-year history, preferably like a Bank of America, Chase, some kind of major credit card, or a $3,000 limit. And you need to have a loan or a mortgage, one of those two. You don't need to have, credit cards and a loan or a mortgage. If you have a mortgage or a loan, even if you have no credit cards, you could still get approved. If you have 2 credit cards with 2 $3,000 limits, no mortgage or auto loan, you're typically able to get approved as well. Okay, your utilization does matter. For the actual consumer reporting cards, they want you to be under 60% utilization. With the business cards, they need you to currently be under 30%. A lot of people say on one card or overall. The answer is both. Your individual cards need to be paid down to 30% or less, and your overall needs to be paid down to 30% or less. Now, here's the great news. We work with a finance source that does soft pulls, and they also can do rapid rescores for you as well. So if you owe, let's say you owe $4,000 on a card that's got a $10,000 limit, and you need to be at $3,000 or less. Well, we've actually got funding sources that'll help you do 2 things that are pretty cool. they'll loan you the $1,000 that you need to pay down the credit card. So even if you're overutilized, we've got a source that will loan you the money to pay down the balances you need to qualify. And we've got another funding source that will actually help you do a rapid rescore. So if you want to physically even pay the money down on the credit cards or credit lines or on your existing credit cards to qualify, well, then you could pay the credit card issuer down, and then you could get a letter from them stating you did. They could rapid rescore and update your credit reports in one day. So if you're overutilized, don't worry. We've got sources that will give you the money to pay down your utilization to qualify. And we've also got sources that will even help you rapid rescore to get your credit scores or credit reports updated within a day once you pay those balances down, to make it easy to overcome that obstacle. You need to have not a lot of inquiries. 6 in the last 6 months is too many. If you have less than 6, you still have a chance of getting approved. How few you have determines how much money you can get. So if you only have 1 or 2 inquiries, you're probably going to get that 5 to 8 times the amount of your highest credit limit. If you have less, or if you have 3, 4, 5 inquiries, you may not get 5 or 8 times the amount of your highest credit limit. You may only get 2 to 3 times the amount of your highest credit limit. So again, inquiries do matter. How many you have can disqualify you, and it can also qualify you for less money. So you can use a credit partner for approval as well. This could be a partner, a friend, a family member, grandpa, grandma. It could be somebody that wants to invest in your business. A credit partner is a guarantor, somebody that's willing to let you use their credit to actually qualify. So for example, someone maybe wants a piece of your business. In exchange for allowing their credit to be used as a guarantee, maybe they take 5% ownership in your businesses, for example. So if you use a partner as well as your credit, you can get even more money. So you have options here. If you have a 650, 680 credit score or higher, you could typically get approved for this program. If you don't, you can use a guarantor that does, family member, friend, potential investor, whatever it may be. If you want to use, if you do have 680 and you want to use you and somebody else's credit, well, then that just gets you even more money at that point. So several options available here. Now here, this is why this is important to know. Even if you don't have good credit, off the top of your head, you can't think of a relative or a close friend that does, well, don't write this option off, because again, you could very well come across people that love what you're doing and maybe want to invest in your business, and with this program they could do so. And think about it, none of the accounts report on their business, on their consumer credit reports, so it would still build your business credit even if you use a guarantor, and the only case it would adversely affect them is if you default on the credit. Then there would be issues. Okay, then the collections would show on their consumer credit report. But as long as you don't default, there's no reporting on their consumer credit report. All you're doing is helping build your business credit and accessing the money. So again, you can use multiple guarantors, okay, and that being said, that offsets the risk of, even if you have credit issue, it just makes the credit issuer gives them a greater desire to be able to issue credit because they have somebody involved with that has better credit. So limits on existing accounts, as we mentioned, determine the approval. The limits directly proportional. You're usually going to get 5 to 8 accounts with limits equal to what you currently have. Okay, that's exactly how this is going to work. Okay, the more partners, again, as we talked about, that you're bringing in, the more accounts that you'll actually have on your credit report as well. So fees, you're typically going to be charged a 9 to 12% success-based fee. You only pay the finance source on the money you actually get. You only pay the fee off what they actually get for you. On average, you pay about $10,000 or 10% fee. So if they get you 100 grand, it's a fee of about 10 grand, and they usually pay that fee right on the actual card you get or the credit lines. So basically, it's just like an SBA loan. You're basically rolling the fee right into the financing, just like you would with an SBA loan. And you're not usually charged until you actually get your cards in the mail. You get your cards, they serve you with an invoice. And again, anybody promising you or charging you an upfront payment, you have to be very, very concerned here. Guys, we've worked with every finance source that offers this program that has any legitimacy in the funding space. And I can tell you, some of them are shady. Some of them charge you up front because they don't really think they can do what they say they can do. So any of them that charge you an upfront fee, I'm not telling you they're not credible. I'm just saying be leery. Know to look at this. Know it's not normal, and that they obviously have to have concerns that they're either going to be able to deliver for you or that you're going to pay. Again, be leery of anybody that's charging you up front for this program. So again, if you're getting credit repair, some programs will charge you up front, even if you have bad credit, and they'll tell you they're going to fix your credit to help you qualify. But listen, I used to own a credit repair company. I happen to know a little something about this topic, and I can tell you to get you from a 500 to a 680 credit score takes a lot of time. It's not easy to do. It could take years to get there. So you've got to have good credit accounts to get good scores. So if you're trying to fix your credit, then keep in mind that anybody that's trying to charge you up front for this program and tell you they can fix your credit so you can qualify, that could take you a bunch of time, and you'd have to add a bunch of new credit to even get your scores to a point where it would really even work for you to begin with. Also, with credit repair, it's illegal to charge up front. So if somebody tries to charge you up front for credit repair, just so you know, it is illegal. And I'm just telling you this so you know that you actually, when it comes to credit repair, have the right to get paid after you actually have the credit fixed. Okay, one more thing I wanted to talk about with this program is that you actually, a couple things. One, you can take cash out on this program. So the finance sources will help you physically take the cash out of these cards. So you get the benefit of credit cards at 0%. You get the benefit of credit lines where you could take the cash out. This is the only kind of program that exists anywhere in the business world where you can get financing at 0% and take physical cash. So if you get approved for 150 grand, you can take 150,000 out in physical cash. Benjamin Franklin's. Okay, you could take them out in $100 bills if you want and not pay any kind of 20% cash advance fee. As a matter of fact, you could do it at 0% rates. Some finance sources have inquiry removal. So if you have unauthorized inquiries you don't recognize, again, get with us at creditsuite.com/get funding. We'll get you to a source that can even help you with inquiry removal. And again, be careful because you don't want to remove accurate inquiries. If you used an inquiry and got a car loan or a credit card, and then you tell somebody that you didn't actually authorize that, then sometimes they can try to come back and renege, or not renege, but they can call the loan due or cancel the loan or even pull back or cancel the credit card because of that. So you got to be careful. Don't have anybody try to remove inquiries that really are legitimate, especially ones that showed up as actual accounts on your credit report that you got approved for, because that can instantly scream out fraud. And then the issue is that they can come after the loan or come after the credit, as I mentioned. Okay, so some sources get high approvals quickly. They know the underwriters. They know the sources on a regional level. Others get denials and then have to negotiate, which is ridiculous. So there's a lot of finance sources that offer this program. You've got to be leery because, again, a lot of them will come in and try to do things like negotiate on your behalf because they got denied initially. This takes a lot longer for approval, and these are not ones that you necessarily want to go with. Okay, these accounts will require a personal guarantee. They are business credit accounts because they report on your business credit reports, but they're not the kind that you get without the guarantee. We're going to be talking about that tonight at 8 o'clock. And remember, you or your partner will be personally liable in the case of default with these cards because you are providing personal guarantees, so some things to keep in mind. Okay, again, the process starts by finding the best finance source you can get with us, creditsuite.com/get funding. We could do that. They'll have you sometimes fill out an application. It's pretty simple. Most of them only want credit monitoring. You're usually pre-approved even same day nowadays. You don't have to wait 24 hours. You can usually get an approval. Our clients get an approval, or our people that we help secure this within 24 hours, usually same or within an hour to 2 hours in a lot of cases. And when contacted, you want to explain what you're trying to accomplish, and then they'll take the steps to get you set up. Typically, you're going to need credit monitoring with all 3 reporting agencies to get approved, so make sure you have that. If you don't want to get credit monitoring, we've got finance sources that do soft pulls and don't even require that as well, so you definitely have options there with this program. And again, after reviewing your reports, they're typically going to get you approved within 24 to 48 hours. They'll get you a pre-approval usually within a day. Okay, then they'll do a consult call to review everything with you. If you want to move forward, you sign their agreements, and then it takes about 2 to 3 days for them to apply to get your new accounts. And then in total of about 2 to 3 weeks, you actually get your funding. The whole process from beginning to end takes about 2 to 3 weeks to actually get access to your money. And again, once you get the money, then you get invoices. You want to pay the invoices because, again, some of these finance sources will teach you how to get the cash out, to liquidate the cards, to get physical cash out, and they'll do this once you actually pay the invoices. So again, now a lot of them will also give you logins so you can monitor this progress throughout the 3 weeks, so you know what's going on in real time as well. So then that way you'll know the accounts are on their way, or the credit's on its way before the credit even comes. Now, after you get your cards, most sources will help you again to get the limits even raised. And they do this by using the other accounts they got you as leverage to get you even more money. And again, every 6 months, you probably want to call your new sources and go ahead and apply for a limit raise. I don't ever let them pull my personal credit. So you can oftentimes apply or basically inquire to get your limits raised. And I always ask them, are you going to pull my consumer credit if you issue an inquiry? Or excuse me, if I want you to raise my limits, will you pull my personal credit? If they say yes, I never do it because I understand the value of an inquiry. I don't need to get an inquiry for you to raise my limit 10 grand. I'll use my inquiry to get another $20,000 card. So, but again, I recommend on the consumer and business side, you call every credit issuer you have, limit lines and cards, and always apply every 6 months or for more money. If they don't put an inquiry on your credit report, it's an easy way to get approved for more money. So not way more details. I mean, half of our webinar is literally on that one program because it's so fantastic for a lot of reasons. 0% rates for 6 to 18 months. You get approved even as a startup. You don't need collateral. You don't need to verify any kind of cash flow. You could take physical cash out, 100% of the money out on the lines that you want. You can get approved for up to 150 grand. You're building your business credit at the same time. So a ton of benefits, which is why I love that program. It's one of my favorite programs. Now, the second one is a program that just rolled out last year, which has no credit requirements, as you'll see. It's also a really good program. The rates are super low, 0.5 to 0.7% per week outstanding. What does that mean? For every week that you have the money outstanding, you pay a little bit more. The total you'll pay on this is less than 5% interest for whatever you borrow. But what's nice about this is, let's say you just need money quickly for a week or 2 weeks. Well, then you would only pay 0.5% to 1% in that case. So the max you're going to pay on this is less than 5%. And if you keep the money outstanding for less than that, even a matter of a week, 2 weeks, or a few weeks, you'll pay even less. You get immediate approval. With this program, we basically will talk to you. If it sounds like you're a good fit, we send you a link. You'll get a near immediate approval. Within an hour, you could physically get approval, and then you'll typically fund the next day. So this is a 24-hour program to get approved and get your money with absolute no consumer credit requirements. It's pretty awesome. So this is actual real working capital. You can use the money for whatever you'd like to use the money for. What happens is the lender, and this is a lender, the lender plugs directly into your bank account or your accounting software like QuickBooks to get that fast approval. Basically, they plug into your bank account, they plug into your accounting software. They basically, their computer does an automated algorithm that it goes through and issues an immediate approval, where within an hour you're getting approved. And then again, you can fund the next day. You can get approved for up to 100 grand with this program, and whatever money you borrow, they give you 12 to 24 weeks to pay back. Now, the next one I'm going to show you, the one I love that I just found out about yesterday and added in here for you, you have 12 months to pay it back. In this case, whatever you borrow, they give you 12 to 24 weeks to actually pay that money back. And then again, you're charged 5% or about 0.5% interest for every week that money's outstanding, which is about $50 for every $1,000 you borrow. So typical initial approvals are under 50 grand. To get up to 100 grand, they usually want to see 2 years of tax returns. This is very common. So a lot of cases, the approval you get immediately is fairly low. It's less than 10 grand. I shouldn't say that's low. A lot of the people we talk to are only looking for about 10 grand in money. But again, you can get up to 10 grand, usually with no documentation required at all. But if you want even more money, I recommend everybody sends their tax returns to see what happens. Because I had a buddy of mine approach me and goes, hey man, I need a loan. I want something fairly quick. Go ahead and get me one of those revenue cash advances. I said, absolutely not. Those charge like 25, 30% interest. Let me just try this option for you first. We got him approved in a day for $6,000. He goes, I need like 30,000 plus. I said, no issues. Send him your tax return. He was in a super, super, super high risk industry. He sent in his tax returns and they immediately approved him for 30,000. So he got a $30,000 credit line with an interest rate less than 5%, even if he uses the max term on the credit line, much better than the 25-30% he was willing to pay. So again, I always recommend get your initial fast approval. It's super simple to do. And then in doing so, you can also then turn around and supply tax returns to get even more money. And then again, once you actually supply those, then you'll typically get even approved for even more money the next day. Now you can get it, and this is an example of that exact same thing I said. He got 6 immediately, then went in and got 30,000. So instead of him paying 30%, he was able to get 0.5% for every week outstanding. And I say that because he didn't keep it for 12 or 24 weeks. He needed it to buy something. He bought it. He got his return, and then he paid it off quickly. He paid less than 1% in interest because he didn't even keep it outstanding for the 12 to 24 weeks. So it was a great option, great way to go. Now, there's 2 ways to qualify. One is you have outstanding account receivables. These are basically businesses or individual customers that owe you money and are paying you back what they owe. They actually show up in your accounting software or tax returns or bank statements. So this is called AR, or account receivables. And let me give you an example. Let's say you're a lawn care business and you have like 200 customers and you serve invoices and they don't pay you for weeks or a month. Well, in this case, that's what account receivables are. Let's say you're a doctor's office and you're getting money from Medicare or Medicaid. Those are account receivables. Any situation where somebody's owing you money they're not paying right away is an account receivable, and they can actually use those as one way to get you approved if customers owe you money. The other way is that you have revenue. If you have consistent revenue of about 100 grand or more, you can get approved, even if you've been in business for as little time as 3 months. So again, they're looking for either some kind of revenue of 100 grand or some kind of receivables. There's 2 different ways that you can actually get approved for this program, which makes it pretty cool and easy to do. Now, whether you qualify under outstanding account receivable or consistent revenue, you should be in business 1 year, but again, in interviewing with them the other day, they said even as little as 3 months, they will actually approve you. Now, if you're looking at your accounting software, they want to see accounts receivable or consistent revenue. Again, they're also looking for good bank account management if they're plugging into your bank account, which means not a bunch of non-sufficient funds and overdrafts. They want to see a positive ending balance at the end of each month if you're going with the revenue option. There are also no business credit score requirements for this program at all, and there's no consumer credit. They don't even pull it. They do not pull your credit at all. Why I love this program, right? I just talked to you about the value of an inquiry, and with this program, you don't have any inquiries. They don't pull business or consumer credit at all. There's no inquiries, and your consumer and business credit doesn't matter. So we oftentimes get our clients approved for this credit line as well as many other kind of loans at the same time. Anybody that has consistent revenue, we immediately go through to get approved for this, as well as any other kind of loan we're working on for them, because it's easy to do. If you have a 680 FICO score, and on top of that you also have revenue, well, I would get you approved for both programs, program number 1 and this program, because both of them are outstanding funding programs. There's no credit pull at all with either one. Now, that talks through the 2, okay? We talked to you about this whole thing is about 2 of the best credit lines that you're going to get. Those are 2 of the absolute best credit lines we've seen, but of course I under promise over deliver, so there's many more I'm going to continue to go through with you here, especially this one that I just found yesterday, which we're applying for today because it's phenomenal. Okay, so the reason that I like those first 2 options is simple. The first one is awesome because you can be a startup. You don't need revenue. You don't need collateral. You get 0% rates. You get for 6 to 18 months. You can get up to 150 grand. You can use a guarantor for approval. You build your business credit. I mean, there's so many benefits. It's phenomenal. The second one I love because there's no credit check. There's no inquiry on your credit report. There's no credit check. If you have responsible bank account management and revenue of 100 grand, or you have account receivables, you can get approved. And the rates, you can't beat a 0.5% rate for every week your money's outstanding with a cap rate of less than 5%, like 4.8. That's phenomenal to have a credit line with rates that low. So I love those options because they work for you in different scenarios. Maybe you don't have 100 grand in revenue yet. Well, don't worry. Still remember this webinar, because when you do, you still will want to access this credit line. It's phenomenal. Now, this new one that I just actually discovered yesterday, you get approved up to 150 grand, weekly rates of 0.3 to 1.5% per week outstanding again. So you could pay very little interest for every week that you have the money outstanding. Weekly and monthly payments are available, so you could pay back weekly or monthly. You pay back over 12 months. The last option I just showed you, I love it, but they give you 24 weeks to pay it back. So that means that within 6 months, you have to pay the money back that you borrow. With this program, you have twice as long. You get 50% more money, up to 150 grand versus 100 with the other program I just showed. And you also have 12 months to pay it back versus 6. Now, you can get approved within 48 hours, just like the other two I showed you. You do need a 620 FICO score. They do a credit check here, but I can't tell you how big of a deal it is to get approved with only a 620 FICO. Almost all credit lines that require good credit require 680, 700 for approval. With this one, you only need a 620, but you do need to have higher revenue. You need to have $20,000 a month in deposits, which is about $240,000 a year in revenue versus the one we just talked about where you only need 100. You need no more than 2 non-sufficient funds this month, no more than 5 non-sufficient funds in the last 2 months. Bottom line, if you manage your bank account responsibly, instead of paying 30, 40% interest plus on a cash advance, you can get something like this. It's simple. You know, boom, you get up to 150 grand. Just because you manage your bank account responsibly, they plug right into your banking software as well as through the process, and they automate that way. So it's very easy for you to be able to get approved because they plug right into your actual bank account to get approved. So 3 really phenomenal programs. First one requires good credit, 0%. Again, you can get approved as a startup, no collateral, build your business credit. The second one, you need revenue or account receivables, but there's no credit check, rates under 5%, 6 months to pay back what you borrow. Third one I just showed you, you need even higher revenue, $240,000. That's what it's strictly based on. It's just on revenue. But you can get approved even with the 620 FICO, get up to 150 grand, and have a year to pay it back. So 3 really good options, but there's more out there as well. One of them are called SBA cap lines. Now, this is actually not a credit line. It's 5 different credit lines they offer. And per SBA, cap line is their umbrella program in which SBA helps business owners meet short-term and cyclical working capital needs. You get approved for up to $5 million with this program, and you can choose between credit lines and loans with SBA. I'm not going to go through the 5 specific ones with you today, but I can tell you they have cap lines for all different kind of purposes. Some of them have to do with, you know, you being a seasonal business or a contractor or a builder. So there's industry and seasonal different type of lines that SBA actually offers that are really good, worth looking into. And they also have an SBA Express program. You can get approved for up to 350 grand. Pretty good interest rates, about 6 to 8%. And if you need over 25 grand, you need collateral. Now, on the SBA cap lines and Express, you need 2 years tax returns. You need pretty good credit. They may even ask you for collateral. So these are harder ones to qualify for than the first 3 I showed you. Now, there are alternative ones through private investors, and I talked to you about these in the beginning too. They usually want 2 years tax returns that show some kind of profit, and they want to see pretty good credit, 680, 700 score. So remember, I gave you that tip earlier, and I said, listen, make sure you show some kind of profit on your tax returns when it comes to getting money. That's because in the last 2 programs I just showed you, SBA cap lines and alternative credit lines through alternative investors, they want to see tax returns with some kind of profit and pretty good credit. If you have it, it opens up all kinds of term loans and credit lines for you. Now, there's also a cash flow financing credit line, and these are offered by some revenue lending or merchant cash advance sources, and you basically need 10 grand of revenue a month to qualify. Even with a 500 credit score, you can get approved. So here's another option that just because you have revenue, even with bad credit, you can get approved for. So I just showed you 2 credit lines that are like that. Even if you have bad credit, you can still get them as long as you have some kind of consistent revenue of 100, 120 grand or more a year. Securities-based financing, this is where you're using stocks, bonds, even 401k as collateral to get financing. You don't need to have good credit. There's no credit pull. You don't need to have cash flow. It works for you as a startup, and your cash flow doesn't matter. All you need are stocks, bonds, or a 401k. They could be yours, or they could come from somebody else that's a potential investor, a family member, a friend. So the best part about that is let's say a buddy of yours or a family member, grandpa, let's say grandpa lets you use his stocks as collateral to fund your business. Well, he still keeps the stocks invested where they are. He still earns the interest on the stocks like he normally does. The only thing that changes is that if you default on the loan, they take his stocks. If you never default on the loan, he'll never notice a difference in him being able to earn the same interest on the stocks. So great program whether you or somebody else has stocks, bonds, 401ks. And another one I didn't put on here is called inventory financing, where you could use existing inventory you have in your business to also qualify for a credit line. I didn't mention that one, but that has no credit requirements on the consumer side. That one has no revenue requirements. All you need is inventory to be able to qualify. So a lot of different programs here. You know, credit lines are reusable. You only pay interest on what you borrow, so huge benefit. You know, unsecured means you don't have to have any kind of collateral even provided, and a lending source basically works on your behalf to secure credit cards for you or credit lines for you, which we talked about that option as well. Other types of credit lines can come using collateral, like the SBA will actually want to see. So we talked about secured and credit lines today, and of course we can help as well. So a lot of things as we wrap up. First of all, don't forget in the chat box to make sure that you check out the webinar for tonight. It happens at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We map out step by step exactly how you build business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your social. We talk about all different kind of loans and credit lines. Tonight we're going to talk about how to get financing to flip houses and financing to buy commercial vehicles. We're going to talk about how you can use money to get equipment and lease equipment, borrow against equipment you have, and we're going to talk about all different kinds of other ways to get long-term term loans and credit lines for your business, the fastest and easiest way to do that. Tonight at 8, we're also going to be talking about the exact steps to build your business credit. So there's 2 ways you could do that. You could email Joni@CreditSuite.com. Joni@CreditSuite.com. She can get you the link to that webinar. You can also come in and go into the chat right now, and you'll get the link from the chat to actually register for that webinar. It's going to be phenomenal. We only do about 2 of these a year, and there's a reason, because it's 90 minutes. We go over a ton of information all in one setting. And the awesome thing is, this is the first time I've ever done one of these at night, ever. I've never done a webinar for our customers or our database or our followers and subscribers at night, but so many people have come to me and said, listen, why don't you do these in the evening? I have to work during the day. Well, tonight I'm going to do that for you. Tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time, I'm going to fire up the computer. We're going to go live and map out everything to do with business credit loans. So make sure you register. I promise you it'll be well worth you coming in. You'll get so much info. So now let me get to the questions, because I promised you all I would answer every single question that you had. Tatiana says, I tried that and I had $48,000 limit, but I can only get $26,000 on Amex and 0 on Capital One. Why is that? Well, the highest I've ever seen with the first program we talked about, which was when you type this question in, is $50,000 limits. And if you did, the question is did you try to do this on your own, or did you try to work with the finance source to do it? If you work with a reputable finance source, they probably can get you one or multiple $50,000 limits. But you're right. A lot of times you're going to get limits of 25 to 50, even if the highest limit you have is about 50. Another thing to keep in mind is that the limit you have needs to be on a revolving credit card, not a home equity line of credit. So there's some variables there. Again, go to creditsuite.com/get funding. Let's send it to one of our sources to see what they can do. There's no inquiries on your credit report for them to look at it and tell you, and they might be able to tell you they can get individual limits of 50 grand or more. Some of our sources can. We've seen plenty of sources out there that actually fail to be able to do that. So I definitely understand what you're saying. If the card is unsecured, why do they ask for an SSN? You're talking about 2 different things. Secured and unsecured, we talked about in the beginning, has to do with only collateral. So what secured versus unsecured means is secured means you actually are pledging collateral or an asset that if you ever default, they could take back. Unsecured means there is no collateral, there is no asset. You're asking about what's called a personal guarantee, and a personal guarantee is always required until you build your business credit, period. A personal guarantee will always be required until your business has enough credit to stand on its own. So you'll never get no personal guarantee credit without a social until you build your business credit. And again, you know, tonight at 8 o'clock, we'll go live and dive in a little bit more and talk about exactly how to do that. How can I find out what my credit score is? Actually had left. Okay, I have 2 inquiries and I didn't get funds. Again, I'd have to be able, you're talking about a complete individual scenario where I don't have enough information to tell you why. There's a lot of reasons you may not get approved. What was your utilization? What was on your credit report? What were your scores? Did you have derogatory items? Did you have public records? There's too many variables, but just get in touch with us. You've got one individual scenario you want to talk to, we gladly will, but there's a lot of factors to this for me to be able to tell you specifically what you can and can't get. Can a mobile home be collateral? Not with many sources. Most sources won't accept any kind of real estate as collateral or mobile home or an actual physical home. SBA loans, they will allow commercial or residential real estate to be used. And Jesse says, how do we start using our DMB number if we just got it? And if we don't have profits yet, are we a service provider or dealer? Well, first answer to your question is that's exactly what we're going to cover tonight in our webinar at 8 o'clock. We're going to map out what you need to do to build business credit. We're going to talk about how to get the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 Staples and Ford and Visa cards and MasterCards without the personal guarantee, without the personal credit check, the Apple, the Amazon, the Walmart, all those, American Express. That's exactly what we're going to talk about as the next steps. It's obviously too much to cover right here, the answer to a question, because you're asking, the answer to the question is it's a process to do. Tonight we'll actually be mapping out that process. The second part of your question is, if we don't have profits yet, we are a service provider dealer. It doesn't matter if you don't have profits, you can still build business credit. You can still get several of the programs that we talked about here today, except for the ones that don't have or that do have revenue requirements. And tonight we'll talk about even more loans, even more credit lines, and how to build business credit, none of which even matters if you have revenue. So that's worth you tuning in. What is the link for tonight? Ty, man, you got my name. That's awesome. It's right in the chat box, and I put it in the chat box because it's a little bit long. So just type on chat, and you'll see the link. And if for some reason you don't have the ability to, just email joni@creditsuite.com. The link is probably way longer than it should be. So because the link is a little bit longer, because our marketing team uses it for tracking, it's too long to even give to you correctly without it being an issue. Actually, maybe not. It's creditsuite.com/webinar-250K- the word NIN -business-credit-4-your-EIN- and the day's date, 12/12/2017. Again, it's in chat. You can email Joni@creditsuite.com, and she can get that for you too as well, Ty. All is good. Joni, yep, Joni, Jonie, Joni@creditsuite.com. If you email Joni@creditsuite.com, she sets up our webinars. She can send you an email link for today's webinar. And again, guys, this is if you're on the live webinar here today. Today is the 12th of December 2017. Tonight, the webinar will happen. If you're watching this on replay, obviously, the webinar is already passed. And then eventually we will put that content up on our YouTube channel in a lot of cases. Too long. I know it's too long. That's why you should just click on the link and then open the page and copy it and paste it somewhere where you easily have it, or you don't need to. Just click on the link and register now, and then you'll get emails where we give you all the information leading up to the event for you to be able to attend. So I don't have any more questions. So guys, if you have any questions, if you want to talk more about financing, give us a ring or go to creditsuite.com/get-funding. Our number is 877-600-2487, 877-600-2487. You can also go to info@creditsuite.com. If you don't want to talk to somebody, go to our website, creditsuite.com, and type on chat and engage in a chat with our team. You could do that. Or you can go to creditsuite.com/get-funding. Our funding team will get on the phone with you. They'll determine all the money that you can qualify for, and they'll go to work and in many cases even get you same-day approvals with several sources. So it's really easy. I've given you a phone number to do it, an email to do it, a way to use chat to do it, and you can even fill out a quick form, and that way we can immediately pre-approve you for a bunch of different funding programs there as well. Please send the link to tonight's webinar. Again, I don't have your email to be able to do that, so just email Joni at CreditSuite.com, Clyde Joni, J-O-N-I-E at CreditSuite.com, and you can see my email here on the slide, or you can also just type in chat. If you click on the chat box that you should have available, you can see that in the chat box, one of the very first chat that took place was me giving you a link to the webinar. So email Joni or go ahead and type on the link in the chat. Either way, you'll be able to get it. I don't have your email from this webinar. I can't see your email to be able to get it to you, just so you know. And you can also go to chat on our website, CreditSuite.com, and do that as well. So I don't have any other questions. I'm going to wrap this up. I hope to see you all tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Phenomenal webinar on building business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your social. Just finished putting everything together for that late part of last week. All kinds of new content, new information I've never shown before. Updated results with people so you can see what's possible. Real limits so you can see. We're going to look at real commercial credit reports to see what credit looks like before you start building it. Yes, you can have bad credit even before you start building it, even if you have nothing bad on your report. We're then going to take a step and we're going to dive in and we're going to be looking at what credit looks like when you get even your first account and what it looks like as you get more and more accounts. We're going to talk about, and I'm going to show you real credit reports where people are being recommended now for 700,000 plus in credit and how you can accomplish the same thing. We're going to map out the exact steps in depth to build business credit with a lot of new and updated information that I've never talked about before. We're going to take a look at the way that we help customers build business credit. You're going to get a peek into vendors that you do not know exist. We've worked long and hard. We're adding 12 new vendors to our back office. You're going to see several of the new ones out there that are awesome, that are brand new, that nobody even knows about. We're going to be looking at those tonight to make sure you have all the vendors you need to establish business credit. Then we're going to segue into loans and credit lines. And we're going to talk about a bunch more credit lines we didn't have time to talk about here, a bunch of loans you can get approved for. Startups, whether you have credit issues, we're going to decode all that. We're going to talk about the fastest, easiest way to build the business credit and get loans. I mean, a lot of stuff. That's why we're going an hour and a half. We're going to start it at 8 Eastern. You can email Joni at CreditSuite.com to register or type in the link in chat, and you'll be able to do that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all tonight. So thank you all very much for tuning in. I really appreciate you coming today. And look, Daniel, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Danielle, I'm sorry. I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tonight. So I'll see you all tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern. And make sure anybody that wants more information on loans and credit lines, check out our link, creditsuite.com/get funding, or give us a ring, 877-600-2487. And Tatiana saying, can you post the link here? I already have. It's in the chat box. So I can't do it any other way. It's in the chat box. It should be available for you guys for chat. I also just kind of recited what it is, but it's pretty long. So either click the link in chat or email Joni at CreditSuite.com. Either way, or give us a call or send us an email. There's a million ways you can get this link. It's in chat now. You can also go in, and the link's too long to say again, because again, it's like 8 different aspects to this link, or give us a call, 877-600-2487. Send us an email, info@creditsuite.com. Type chat on our website. Email Joni at creditsuite.com. Any of those options will get you into our special webinar tonight. So I will see you tonight at 8 o'clock. And again, I've given you a bunch of ways to get that webinar link. I look forward to seeing you then. And until then, everybody, make sure you take care, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.